In this video, we're going to be looking at the novel Fahrenheit 451, and we'll put the Simon & Schuster edition up against the version from the Folio Society. It's a $20 edition against an $80 book, and after discussing the content, I'll tell you why I'm keeping one over the other. This one's going to be closer than you think.
Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451 is a classic speculative fiction novel from the prolific American author. A brief novel structured in three parts, Bradbury's most well-known work was first published in 1951. It's sometimes put in the same conversation as 1984 and Brave New World and The Handmaid's Tale, and while it shares some similarities to these texts, it presents a unique vision that Bradbury achieved by telescoping forward from his impressions of American society in the 1940s, as the Cold War intensified, as McCarthyism fostered distrust amongst citizens, and as access to media technologies increased. In this imagined future, people have generally stopped thinking critically and instead are glued to their screens and audio devices, consuming mindless media. There's no totalitarian state that necessarily imposed these conditions. People have simply accepted them. Reading books is illegal, and the fire department is set to burn the books of anyone caught reading them. The protagonist, Guy Montag, is one of these firemen who questions his work after he meets a young free-thinking girl named Clarice Mcclellan. Readers follow Montag as he wrestles with his role in this society. Fahrenheit 451 is honestly not my favorite Ray Bradbury story. I find the language often has a touch of clunk, sometimes in the dialogue and sometimes in the narration, but the climactic chase scene in the novel's final third is pretty action-packed, and I can't deny that the book is beloved by many readers.
I've made my way through it a few times, and this is the edition that sat on my shelf for a while now, since I upgraded from my original ratty mass market edition. It's a trade paperback version from Simon & Schuster and is a handsome volume. It features a simple red and black cover with a clever mashup image of a book and a box of matches. The banner signals the 60th anniversary of the text, and all of this is presented on a nice textured cover paper. This edition is packed with goodies and extras. It features an introduction from Neil Gaiman, and perhaps because the novel itself is so short, they've added all kinds of back matter here. There are almost 90 pages of supplementary material, with a few archival images and some writing from Bradbury himself, with others like Harold Bloom and Margaret Atwood, about the legacy of the text. I was quite pleased with this edition, but when I saw the design of the Folio Society edition of Fahrenheit 451, I just had to upgrade to a more deluxe hardcover edition. So let's do this. Here we have Fahrenheit 451 from the Folio Society. This version was originally released in 2011 and is presented in a jet black slipcase. The book itself is wrapped in gray buckram, with a fantastic image by Sam Weber on the front cover. The firefighter is presented with his uniform and breathing apparatus in black, while his face is tinted red by the glass visor of his helmet. On the spine, we have the title in red, with the author and the publisher names in black. If we crack the book open, we see plain but heavy red end papers. The binding is finished with red and black thread, and I note that the design aesthetic here is similar to the Simon & Schuster edition, as it's dominated by the same color scheme. The book is printed on Abbey wove paper, which is smooth and cream white, providing strong contrast between the paper and the black of the text, which makes for a pleasant reading experience, because it's easy on the old eyes. As we can see in this brief side-by-side comparison, both editions have rather generous margins, but the spacing is larger on the Simon & Schuster edition, with the Folio Society edition getting more words per page, in part due to this spacing, and in part due to the slightly larger page size. The Folio version actually features two introductions. The first is from 2011 and is by Michael Moorcock. He takes readers through Bradbury's influences with some fresh perspective and anecdotes, then rehashes the well-known story of how the finished book came to be. The second introduction is from Ray Bradbury himself and is from 2003. It is different from the version found in the back matter of the Simon & Schuster edition, but it covers the same ground. Sam Weber has just 6 pieces of art in this edition, but here they are presented on thick paper with a toothy texture. The illustrations don't always land right next to the page where the corresponding text can be found, and are sometimes as much as 10 pages out. Weber is a fantastic artist, and would be familiar to Folio fans who've been privileged enough to see his editions of Dune or Lord of the Flies. Let's take a few moments to explore and appreciate what he's presented for us here in Fahrenheit 451. This first illustration, the frontispiece, is of the fearsome mechanical hound pouncing on an almost spectral mouse. Weber has maintained a fantastic fidelity to Bradbury's description of the hound here. The second image is of 17-year-old Clarice Mcclellan in the rain holding a dandelion. The blur around the hair and the water on her face are stunning, but it's the depth of the eyes that stand out especially in this illustration. Third up is my favorite of the bunch, with a sinister portrait of Captain Beatty encircled by the smoke from his pipe as he leans over intensely. The use of color, the subtle purples and greens, give this one a sinister, intense tone that echoes his conversation with Guy Montag. Next we have an image of the three wives. They puppet back the smile on the screens they watch. Weber has captured their maniacal grins and echoes Bradbury's description of the Cheshire cat faces, perhaps even alluding to it with this electric pink effect in the foreground. The fifth illustration is of Beatty's final moments as he wreathes in the flames. This image is full of movement. Finally, we have an illustration of protagonist Guy Montag wading into the river that will provide his salvation. He's framed by trees in the foreground in this nearly black and white image. The stars and the reflections give this piece a dreamlike, esoteric quality. I'm happy with this edition of Fahrenheit 451 from the Folio Society. I happen to have the first printing here, but I believe they've released subsequent printings. The book is getting a little pricey on the secondary market, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see another printing soon. At 150 pages, this is a short book, and it could have benefited from more back matter, like the Simon & Schuster edition, which I still appreciate because it offers great value. But there's something wonderful about the Folio Society's edition in hand. Their attention to detail and design is on full display here, and although this decision is closer than most, I'm still going to move this one to the box of doom so I can make room for more new books, and put this one up on the shelf to retain as my permanent copy. So thanks for watching, and keep an eye on this channel if you want more book content, including future upgrades to my collection and guided tours of some truly remarkable editions.